Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with my next product level up update. I am currently working on the Odin's Eye Merry Christmas palette for level 4, and this is the second month that I've been working on this palette. So quickly, just to sum up product level up, this is a project that I created 2 years ago now, where I wanted to create a project where you kind of mix No Pan Left Behind, Pan Those Eyeshadows, even Pan Palette maybe if you want to go that direction. But the main reason why I wanted to create this project is just to get more use out of my palette as a whole and not just hone in on singular eyeshadows. But I still wanted to keep up and hitting pan, so that's why I created this project. So how it works is that for level 1 you have to hit one pan in the palette that you roll, and you have to use every shadow once. For level 2, hit 2 pans and use every shadow twice, and so on. So with level 4, which I'm currently on, I have to use every single shadow in this palette 4 times and hit 4 pans. Once you hit that goal, you level up, of course, and next level is level 5. When you complete level 5, you do have an option to reset the project back to level 1, or you can keep going if you want. I personally reset the project. I think I'm going to do the same this year. That's just what works best for me. But that is the main gist of the project, the main rules. But if you want more information about this project, you can check out my introduction, which I will have linked down below. So, like I said, I am currently on level 4. I'm going to share with you where the palette is today and what it's been looking like since I introduced it. But before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so I'm going to insert the footage here of what the palette has been looking like. This is when it was first introduced, and it was basically brand new. I think in the footage it actually is brand new, but I had swatched it at this point, but I hadn't actually used any of the shades. So yeah, it's a really beautiful palette. It has 2 top rows with greens and then more kind of warm toned neutrals at the bottom. This is what it looked like last month. You can see I had a couple of dips here and there. I will talk you through, of course, the uses and everything, but this is what it looked like at that point. And again, I had worked on this palette for 1 month at this time. You might be able to see which eyeshadows I was focusing to hit pan on, but this is what the palette looks like today. So you can see the overview here. I do have some clear changes, but of course, again, I'm going to talk you through everything in a second. But yeah, this is where the palette stands today. So I will also have pictures up here comparing it from last month to this month. But again, this is what the palette looks like. Very, very exciting. But again, let me talk you through each shade in order. So we're going to start off with the first shade, which is the shade Elf Wish. And this is a beautiful green to kind of orange duochrome. It's really, really pretty. And this is actually one that I've hit pan on. I hit pan on this eyeshadow this morning, which is also why I'm filming this video today, which might give you a little bit of a sneak peek spoiler there. But I hit pan on this shade this morning. I have redone my makeup now, so a different look right now compared to this morning. But this morning I wore this eyeshadow and I hit pan on it. So that is my first pan to share. In the first month, I used this one time, and in this month, I reached for it 6 additional times for 7 uses total to hit pan, and that is the first shade. Moving on to the rest of the shades on the first row, I can actually talk about all of them together. We have the shade Matcha Cookies, Jingle Bells, and New Leaf. And the reason why I can talk about them all together is that the uses has been exactly the same over the last 2 months. In the first month of this project, I reached for these shades twice, so I had 2 more uses to go on both shades, on all 3 shades. And I'm happy to say that I have done that. So I have reached for all of these shades now 4 times, 2 times in the first month, 2 times in the second month. Then let's move on to the second row. And the first shade we have on the second row is the shade Snowman, which is another one that I wanted to focus on. This is one that I focused a lot on in the first month, and I had already reached for it 10 times at that point. I knew this was one that I wanted to hit pan on, and again, I'm happy to say that I was able to do that. You can again see the photos, but it took me 3 additional uses in the past month to hit pan on it for a total of 13. This is definitely more of a firmer pressed shadow than some of the other shimmers that I have hit pan on this palette. There's a couple shades that has this firmer formula. It's this one, the pink and the orange, all have that firmer formula, and then the rest of the shimmers are more kind of squishy. But yeah, it took me a little bit longer, but that's fine. This was a really fun shade to work on. I wore it in my inner corners a lot and as a topper shade. So that was the shade Snowman. Next to that, we have the shade Best Wish, which I reached for 3 times in the first month, and I did reach for it the last time this past month for a total of 4 again. Then next to that, we have the shade Christmas Tree, which is the other way around. I reached for this one time in the first month, and I reached for it the 3 additional times this past month for again a total of 4. So I have hit my usage goal on that shade too. Lastly, for the top row, we have the shade New Year, which is one that I also reached for 2 times in the first month and 2 times this past month for a total of 4. So usage goal complete on the second row as well. Then moving on to the third row, again, we're starting off with a Pan. This is the shade Little Star, which is more of a neutral kind of shimmer, and it was really, really nice. And again, I wanted to hit pan on this one. I had reached for it 4 times in the last update, and you can see in the pictures, hopefully, that I already had a big dip on this one after 4 uses. And it only took me 1 additional use in the past month to hit pan on it for a total of 5. Again, this is a very squishy formula, and I reached for this one all over my lid whenever I did reach for it, which is why I think I hit pan on it so fast. But yeah, 5 uses to hit pan on that shade, and that is my third pan in the palette. Okay, so let's keep going. Next to that, we have the shade Gingerbread, which I had already completed my usage goal on in the first month. I had reached for it 4 times. It's actually only 1 out of 2 shades I had already hit my usage goal on, but I have not reached for it since. I'm staying with 4 uses. Then next to that, we have the shade Bless, which is another shimmer, and this is actually the last shade that I didn't hit my goal on. I actually am wearing this one today because I had only reached for it 3 times before this. So I'm wearing this one on like the inner half of my lid. I have a different purple on the outer half, but on the inner half I'm wearing this shade today. So that is my 4th use. And the way I reach for this one is 2 times the first month and 2 times this past month. So again, 4 uses there. Then lastly, on the third row, we have the shade Poinsettia, which again, I reached for 2 times the first month, and I have reached for it the 2 additional times this past month for a total again of 4. Okay, so let's move on to the final row of the palette, and we're starting off with the shade Hot Cocoa, which is the second shade that I had already hit my usage goal on already at the past update. So I had 4 uses on it already. And I haven't reached for it anymore because, again, I was focusing on all the other shades in this palette. It is a 16 pan palette, so once I hit my usage goal on the shades, I kind of stopped there because, again, I knew that I had so many other things to reach for in this palette, so 4 uses there. Then we have the shade All Right, which is another shimmer. This is the orange shimmer in the palette. This one isn't the most impactful, so it wasn't one that I wanted to reach for too much. But I did actually hit my 4th use on this one today as well. Not in the look that I'm wearing now, but the one I did this morning for work. So again, I wore the shade Elf Wish all over my lid. And since it has that orange shift to it, I wanted to add the orange. So I added it underneath my lower lash line. And again, that was my look today. I just wore some like mattes from my Panda palette, which I use neutral mattes, like neutral browns. So that was my look today. But yeah, with All Right, I had reached for it 2 times the past month, and I reached for it the second time today. So again, 4 uses. Then we have the shade Happy Ending, which is the black in the palette, and this is also one that I reached for 2 times leading up to last update. And I have reached for it 2 additional times this past month for a total of 4 again. So another one that is complete. Then the very final shade in the palette is also my very final pan. So that is my 4th pan, which means that I have leveled up. I mean, as long as I have reached for this shade 4 times, which I have. So I had reached for this shade 1 time in the first month, but I wanted to focus in on this one and hit pan on it. And it took me 7 uses this past month for a total of 8 to hit pan on it. So again, between that 5 and 10 uses goal. And again, this is more of a squishy formula. So this is what the palette looks like now. You can see my 4th pan, like my 4 pans is here, 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 and here. So 1 on each row, actually, it's funny. But that is what it looks like. I have some good dips in other shades too, and this palette definitely looks well loved now, which I'm really, really happy to see. So again, that is my level 4 complete. I'm going to roll this palette out today, and I'm going to replace it with level 5. It's always very exciting to do. I'm a little bit scared of level 5 because it is a hard level to do. I'm sensing maybe vetoes will come. If you don't know, I'm allowing myself 3 vetoes this year, and I haven't used any so far, so I might use 1 or 2 today, but again, we'll see. I actually am also thinking potentially about handpicking one, but believe me, this one palette that I'm thinking about handpicking is a really, really difficult palette, both to pan on and also a lot of shades. I think it's my biggest palette, but that's the one I'm thinking about. But I'm going to roll first and see what I think, and then we'll just see how it goes. Maybe I'll get a palette straight away that I want to work on. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous because, again, I'm also doing my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, which is a project where I'm going through my palettes and I'm using them all, like making 3 looks with them. And I would ideally want to roll something in that I haven't worked on in that project. And the palettes that I have left, I was looking at earlier today, and not that many of them I want to work on. But again, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to roll this one out for now, put it to the side, and I'm going to pull up my phone with my Tiny Decisions app, and we're going to go ahead and pull a palette. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous. We have all options here, all my palettes, apart from the 4 that I have already rolled, you can see they are blacked out in here. So I'm nervous, but I'm just gonna go ahead and roll. I can always veto if I don't like the option, but I'm nervous. Let's see what I get. Love Notes. Okay. That is the palette that I have already used in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, but I think it's one that would be quite easy to pan on, but it has a lot of shades. Let me get it, and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll see. Let me get it quickly. Okay, so this is the palette right here. So it's a 20-pan palette, so it's again quite a large palette. It's not quite as large as the one I was thinking though, but it's a large palette. So this color story, I'm going to insert some footage actually. This color story is quite light. It does have a lot of transition shades, some pretty shimmers. I already have pan on 3 of the shimmers as of now. So yeah, there's a lot of variety in this palette. I have already reached for it this year, so that's the only thing that's holding me back with this one. But it is a really pretty color story, and I do think these shades would be really easy to incorporate into other looks. So I'm you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. Yes, I have already reached for this palette, but I think there's a lot of things that I can pan on in here. I do have a couple of shimmers that I could easily incorporate, so I'm thinking like this shimmer here I could easily pan on, same as this one here. Those two are like super easy given shades, so I think those two I'm going to focus on. Then I think I can also I can hit pan on some matte as well. I think this one here I can hit pan on as a blending out shade. Even this one here would work really nicely with my Panda palette, and I don't think it's too similar to anything I'm panning in there. I think it's a little bit lighter than the shades in my Panda palette. If it's too similar though, I may be able to like include one of these like more pinkier shades, just because like it's nice transitions. So that would be like 4. I also really like this shade here, but I don't know if it's too similar to other things. I could also hit pan on like maybe this lilac shimmer, or maybe this like deeper shade right here that could work as a nice outer corner shade. So I do think there's a lot of options in here. So even though it's not maybe a color story either that I would want to reach for in summer, it is different from everything else that I'm panning, and this formula is quite easy to pan on, and the pans are quite shallow. So it's going to be an easier level 5. So you know what? No veto is going to be used. I'm going to stick with this palette. I'm happy with it. The only thing, like I said, the only thing that makes me not want to work on this palette is that I've already reached this one in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, but that's fine. I mean, that was going to happen at some point anyway in this project, because I reach for new palettes in that project every single month. So that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this one in. I have to reach for every single shade in here 5 times and hit 5 pans. So that might be a bit of a, you know, feat. It might take me a couple months. I think this one is probably going to be in for at least 2 months, but we'll see. Maybe it's going to be in for 3 months even, but I'm going to take it at my own pace, and I'm excited. I'm excited to roll this one in, and this is going to be my product level up level 5 palette, which I'm excited about. So there you guys, it's going to sum up my product level up update number 6, I think we're at. I really hope you enjoy this one. Let me know what you think of my product level up at level 5. Do you think I'm going to be able to hit my goals quickly on this one, or how do you think it's going to go? If you're working on this project yourself, I have most likely seen your videos if you post on YouTube. I search for this project all the time, so I will have a playlist, by the way, as well, with everyone else who's doing this project. And it's a playlist that has been rolling since the introduction of this project, so if you want to binge this project, you can check out that playlist. But if you're just doing this on your own time or on Instagram and I have missed your update, let me know how you're doing in the comment section. I always love hearing from you guys. And yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!